So welcome to Etihad Cargo Connections. I'm your host, Ron Anderson, and tonight I'm joined by trainer Adrian Nicholls. Good evening, Adrian. How are we tonight, mate?
Yeah, a little bit colder over here in the UK, but all good, thanks. Yeah.
Bit cold. How is it over there, mate?
Yeah. We had like 0 last night, so a little bit chilly doing the horses now, but yeah, no, it's okay.
I'm calling from Australia, so we had about 36 degrees today. So it's polar opposite where I'm from at the moment, mate.
Nice.
Nice. So we'll just start off with the past. Where were you born and where did you grow up?
I was born in a town called Harrogate, North Yorkshire, not too far from where I live now.
Awesome. And you spent most of your childhood there as well, did you?
Yeah. Grew up around a town called Thirsk, where the racecourse is. Pretty much been, apart from being away racing, it's where I've grown up, spent all my life.
Awesome. And yourself and your wife have both been around and worked around horses since you were both very young. How did you get into the sport of horse racing initially?
Well, basically, my dad was a jockey. I actually got the nickname Trotter from following him around in the jocks room. From a very young age, I basically went racing with him most days. And yeah, I got into it as soon as I could ride. There was a loophole in Norway where you could ride a year younger than you can in the UK. I went there when I was 15 and I had my first ride on my 15th birthday.
Nice. And your father, was he a jumps or flat?
Well, flat jockey. He rode about, I think he rode about 420 winners, and then he struggled a lot with his weight. But yeah, so my kind of childhood was going around with him really, and that's how I, obviously I knew all the jockeys and was, a racing fan from, very young age.
And dealing with weight, mate, don't we all,
Yeah, no, yeah, it's tough.
And how long did you ride for yourself?
I started in like 15. I was 20 years. I did
Nice.
20 years, so yeah, a good career out of it.
Yeah, and so that's where the passion for horses and horse racing originated, was from following your dad around the jocks room?
Yeah, pretty much. To be honest, I never had any inkling about training. I always just wanted to be a jockey. Like I say, I did it for the moment I could when I was 15, and then obviously it was 16 in the UK. So I had my first ride in the UK on my 16th birthday. So yeah, it's I done it. It's all I've ever done really. It's all I've known how to do.
And you mentioned that you didn't really have an inkling to get into training. When was it that you decided to go that route?
Well, we had me and my wife. Obviously, when we had the children, we started looking after a few. At one point, my father had like 120 horses in training, so we had 5 or 6 of the older ones on livery, giving them a holiday, and we got the idea from there. We broke a few in, and I had, when I retired, I took a year out and I went to the racing college, the Doncaster Racing College, and I taught there for a year whilst I was doing the training modules. And the more I was getting into the training modules, etc. It was something that then we made plans to do, and thank God we did. It's been a success so far.
And when was that you actually got your training license?
It was about 5 years ago now. So
about 5 years ago.
So it was, like I say, I had a full year out from, well, I wasn't out of like racing, but I wasn't riding out. I wasn't, around horses as much. I was just teaching the students at the college and then once I got the jump through all the hoops that you have to jump through in the UK to get your training license, we set off then with I think we had 2 horses then, so yeah, it's a bit, we've done quite well in the short period of time.
And you mentioned, you're glad that you did go out and you did get your training license because it has been successful. Let's talk about a few of those highlights. What have been the main, key milestones, key memories, key highlights of your career so far over those 5 years?
Obviously, you'll always remember your first winner, Sir Lancelot at Wolverhampton, and it was a dreary old night and a hands and heels apprentice race. But like I say, at that point we only had two horses, so it was obviously great. It took us a few months to get off the mark because it's low. Obviously, in the winter over here, it's low level racing, but it's very competitive. And then obviously we got going, and obviously the main two would be a horse called Mamba Wamba was a good filly. She was a stakes filly, and then Mo Salita we got she was purchased for basically nothing, and she went on and she won a listed race with Holly Doyle. And then obviously T Spirit last year. So the last two seasons we've had a stakes winner each season, and we won. We were lucky enough to win the Epsom Dash on Derby Day. What was a big thing because it was kind of my father they named him the king of the sprints. He won every basically sprint in Europe, and Group Ones, etc., and all the big handicaps. So it was 5 years since kind of he passed on the day of the Derby. So to win that big heritage handicap on that day with T Spirit probably it's up there with the stakes winners because it's such a competitive race, and to do it on Derby Day was it was a big feat.
And you mentioned, the race at Wolverhampton. It may have not been, a big race, but I talk to trainers regularly, and they say like even on like a low handicap night, you could run into like a raider from your Godolphins or your Coolmores. So like potential Group One winners on a Wolverhampton cold dreary night as well.
Yeah, no, for sure. Everyone thinks, it's the middle of February, middle of January. We'll go and try a Nicholla race. It doesn't happen.
Work that way. Yeah.
No, it doesn't happen. Yeah. It may have done years ago, but it certainly doesn't now.
Yeah, and you mentioned, the fact that you did win that race 5 years on from when your father passed away, and your stable is a real family affair. In fact, you take great pride in, led by yourself and your wife. How important is that? Not only the fact that you do, present yourself and you do orientate your business around that family, but also was that always the intention when you first started to make that a family business?
Well, obviously Claire was an apprentice jockey, and then she's from her brothers and her father are both trained in Ireland, so she's from a racing background in Ireland, and then she's very knowledgeable. So it was the natural progression for us to. I mean, my name's on the license, but it'll be a thing like in Australia now more than like with the two names. She's as much of the trainer as I actually does. She's very good with the horse's legs and health, etc. Obviously we can still both ride out, and then we were always, it's always been based around that because Mia, now my daughter, she's an apprentice. She's just started the season. She's apprenticed to Eve Johnson Houghton, so she's just started. She's had two winners from I think 11 rides or something, and my son Jack, he's getting his he's doing his amateur course actually tomorrow. So it's I'm doing it obviously, I'm doing it for me and Claire, but obviously with the two kids wanting to ride, it gives me an extra incentive, say, to I mean, I'm all about winning anyway. I always have been. It's we're in that kind of sport. You've got to be a winner. You've got to be winning. But I mean, obviously, if I can help them get a bit of a head start, then it's a added bonus.
Yeah, most definitely. And you hold the reputation proudly as well as being the home of happy horses. How many horses are in the stable currently?
We've got we're 30 at the moment, so yeah, it's like I say, we started off like with a very little number, and we built a good connection of owners, and we pride ourselves. It's a thing, I haven't just made it up. My father trained very much I train quite like him, that we turn the horses out. I just believe that they can get stale in sometimes a bigger yard, more of a factory routine where they're doing the same repetitive thing, like maybe like some of the yards, maybe Newmarket, where they do the same gallop, the same, etc. We lunge a lot of the horses. We turn them out, and just obviously with the smaller number, we can train them more individually. I'm not saying I wouldn't mind. We obviously everybody wants more horses. More horses brings more success, but I think some of the horses, I'm not, there is some, great trainers who train over 300 horses, but just the odd one could slip through the net. I'd like to think that every horse we have, we can give them if there's a race to be won with them, I'd like to think I can win with them.
And as you said as well, you have to be competitive in this game. So making sure that you can get the best out of your horses, takes that next step towards ensuring that they can win the races that they're, built to win.
Exactly. I mean, I've been lucky enough. I've ridden all over the world, and I've picked up, things from trainers from different parts from everywhere, really. And I'm obviously new to the training game, and I'm open to all. A friend of mine, he actually rides in Australia, Billy Cray. He was telling me about the way they do with the heart monitors. They do it over here, but a lot more over there, and things like that. I like to try and take on board and try new things, like you say, just to get the best out of every horse, because there's obviously you've got to give them every chance to win before you can write them off.
That's it. And you mentioned him before as well, T Spirit. You're now preparing for the Dubai campaign. He joined the stable in 2021 from the Jason Ward yard and has gone on to win 6 times, including that listed class in Tipperary. Can you tell us a bit about him and how he's preparing for the Dubai campaign after his last start in that Group 1 in Longchamp?
Yeah, I mean, we ran him when we declared him in France in the Prix de l'Abbé, the Group 1. It was good ground, and as I had 2 runners, Mo Salita and him, and Barry McHugh, stable jockey. He rode him because obviously he'd won on him. And when we got there, I travelled with the horse so I could ride him out, me and my son, and it didn't stop raining for I don't know 2 days or whatever. Anyway, it ended up being heavy ground, so he wants top of the ground to be against the championship horses. He needs better ground, so he ran there. He come back. Obviously, he was a bit tired after that, so we freshened him up. He's back in full training now. So I mean, he's in. I've entered him in Dubai. He may struggle to get in off 104 rating. If he doesn't go there, he'll go to Newmarket probably for the Palace House Group 3, and then I'll try and plan his route to. I just wanted to try and get if I can get another maybe stakes win into him this year, and then I'll probably take him to the Carnival next year and base my season around the Carnival, heading for the World Cup. I put him in this year, and I'm close friends with Ty Gaucher. Obviously, he's won the championship. However, 11 times. However, he's going to win it again this season.
Yeah.
So I was speaking with him, and he'll probably miss the cut. So if he does, then I'll campaign him. I mean, to go over there, I think you've got to give them a break, or especially if you're gonna send them to Dubai for the full Carnival, it's. But if he gets in to any the Alquoz or the Golden Shaheen, he'll be, I'll more than likely take him.
And so my next question was that he's been nominated for the Golden Shaheen and the Alquoz Sprint. Is his program going to, as you said, if he gets into one of those, he'll obviously go, because you'd be insane not to, especially with, the caliber of those races. But will his program, if he does not make off the back of, you said 104 rating?
Yeah. He'll, I mean, over here, you can obviously go down still the handicap route. But there isn't a whole heap of difference between really the listed races and the Group 3, the same horses will contest the same races. You could finish 10th in a handicap, and have ran well. You can always go back to a handicap. I mean, I much prefer the system in Australia where there is group races at handicaps. I think it, you obviously off 104, we could be meeting us off 100. We'll meet, I don't know, Happy Romance or something that's in the race off 111 or 113. But I think he'll go. Well, he's already a stakes winner, and the horse that was behind him finished second in a Group 1 from Tipperary. So I've got no doubt that it's obviously the competitive, but if he can pick one up, there's quite a lot of options. Obviously Royal Ascot, the owners we probably want to got Royal Ascot. There's a few races in France that I'd like, I would target. And then, like I say, I won't be so pushed to go back to maybe France in October. I'll pull him back and then go to Dubai
for next season
for the carnival. I mean, or if he does go up into 110, 111, you've got the options of elsewhere. I suppose the Breeders' Cup, Hong Kong, where I'm under. The horses are there. If they've got the chance to run in these big races, like I say, I was lucky enough to travel a lot as a jockey, and I don't mind traveling the horses.
Yeah, most definitely. And finding those, as you said, finding the right horses for the right races. Who are some other potential stars or up and comers from the stable that race fans should know about?
There was a horse last year. He was actually a little disappointing. Me and, like I say, Barry McHugh, stable jockey, we were having a heated debate last year at the start of the season. Horse called Thormanby Pearl. He now, if he puts in what he does at home, he could hopefully be the next T Spirit, because last year, if you'd have put a gun in my mouth and said pick one of the two horses, I would have chose Thormanby Pearl over T Spirit. They were work partners, and he ran well in defeat. He finished second a few times. He's won for us, but he just looks this year. He looks he's had a few feet issues, what we've sorted, and I'm hoping he can. He's at the right end of the handicap to progress through if he shows what he does at home.
And are there any other campaigners that you would consider prepping for, campaigns in UAE, Bahrain, Qatar, or Saudi?
I will. I was meant, like, obviously Mamba Wamba, when she was here, she was meant to go to Qatar for the Emir Sword meeting, and unfortunately it wasn't abandoned because of COVID, but we couldn't travel. Literally, that was an hour before we were getting on the flight. So if I've got anything that's able, I would love, like I say, I speak to Tygo, Shane, Richie Mullen. I used to live with them when I was in Dubai, and if I could, I'd love to have a filly. I'm not stupid. I know the 1.25 miles, 1.5 miles, etc. Very Godolphin dominated. I think the sprints and the 3-year-old races are the races to target. I think they're the weaker of the races.
And you've been training for those 5 years. How have you been taking horses out to Dubai for those 5 years?
No, we haven't. I haven't had anything as yet. Like I say, Mamba Wamba was my first real kind of stakes horse. So she was meant to go, and COVID kicked in, and so it's something I'm a firm believer. I rode for, I don't know, 6 or 7 seasons out there. I think you need the right horse. I mean, I'm not just saying rating wise. I think something that can acclimatise well. A lot of horses go from England and, they find it hard, especially coming back. It's obviously it's great to go to Dubai, and great, the prize money is very good, great incentive, but sometimes you lose the horse for the season ahead, if that makes sense.
Yeah, most definitely. And that leads me to my next question about, as you said, would the impact of traveling, like as you'd be well aware, you know, not only as a jockey but as a trainer now, some horses travel extremely well and settle well, but as you said, you know, some horses do get lost in it, and if you take the gamble of taking a horse abroad, and they're not a good traveler, then you do have that potential of losing them for the upcoming season once they return.
Yeah, exactly. And you've got to put a lot of thought into that, and you've got to basically I don't know how you've got to plan your season around both. Because I mean, the dream would be you to go to Dubai, win, and then not that it doesn't matter for the rest of the season, but your main aim is done. You've got the dollars, and you can worry about it after. The flip side to that is you don't run very well, and you know you've got to. Obviously, the horse will tell you himself. You've got to assess it as he goes, really.
Yeah, most definitely. And you said you'd ridden, you know, all around the world. You've been to Dubai, you've been to many other places riding and training. What are some international race or domestic races that you'd really be keen to compete and win in?
I don't know if I'll ever have a horse good enough. Probably not, but I'd love a runner in the Arc de Triomphe. It's always as a jockey, as a trainer. I always wanted to. I like the French racing. I think they do it kind of the right way. There'd be the Arc, and I'd like to come over to Australia to have a look. I like I've never been. It's one place I never got to go. Obviously, I think the Australians have got the best sprinters. So if I had something that was good enough to go down there, you know, and have a crack, it would be, you know, that'd be something good.
And so, in terms of your stable, do you focus on, you know, stayers or sprinters, or do you have a mix of both?
We have a little bit of mix of both, but probably through my father, because obviously he was had so many sprinters. We do seem to have a lot of sprinters. I mean, this year we have a good number of 2-year-olds. So again, they usually come up, you know, from 5 to 7 furlongs. So like I say, we've been successful with, you know, the staying horses we've had, but I would have said that majority of the horses would be, you know, 5 furlongs up to probably a mile.
Yeah, awesome. And having trained for those 5 years, what are some, you know, big lessons that you've learned that have held you in good stead for your career so far?
Patience.
It's always probably, the
same. Yeah, patience and becoming a better loser. Obviously, when I was riding, you know, there's another race in half an hour. You know, and you can soon get out. As soon as the next one's on, you're on to the next one. Whereas training, you know, you've got to pick the pieces up, speak to the owners, blah blah blah. But I'd say patience that way. Yeah, it took me a little bit to come to terms with that bit, but no, that'd be definitely it.
Awesome. Thanks so much for joining us on Etihad Cargo Connections, Adrian. This has been great.